Everything you know was taught to you, not discovered. Taught. Your name, your country, your religion, your language, money, success, beauty, even the way you see the world. Well, think about it. Who decided that a colored piece of paper has value? Who decided that invisible lines on a map separate one country from another? Who decided that one suit looks professional, while another piece of clothing doesn't? Who decided what success looks like, or beauty, or normal? Here's the strange part. You probably don't know. Because by the time you were old enough to ask those questions, the answers had already been installed. Like software, running silently in the background. Most of us spend our entire lives believing we're making our own decisions, without ever asking who wrote the rules in the first place. Because once you start pulling on that thread, something extraordinary happens. Money begins to look different. Countries begin to look different. Traditions, status, luxury. Even your own identity starts to feel a little less obvious. This video isn't about proving that everything you've been taught is wrong. It's about revealing something far more surprising. That the world you live in is built on stories so powerful that billions of strangers behave as if they're unquestionably real. And once you see those stories, you'll never be able to unsee them. Let's do a simple thought experiment. Imagine a baby born today. Now, imagine that baby grows up completely alone. No parents, no teachers, no books, no television, no internet, no conversations. Would that child ever invent money? Would they create the idea of a country? Would they know what a wedding is, or what success means? Probably not, because unlike breathing or feeling pain, those things aren't born inside us. They're learned. Human beings are the only species that can pass ideas from one generation to the next, not through DNA, but through stories. Every child arrives in the world asking one silent question: how does this place work? And the world answers. This is your name. This is your family. This is your language. This is how we celebrate. This is what we believe. This is who we are. The remarkable part is, children don't stop to ask whether those ideas are true. They can't. For a child, trust comes before doubt. Because questioning everything would be a terrible survival strategy. Imagine if every toddler refused to believe that fire burns, or that roads are dangerous until they had tested it themselves. We survive because we inherit knowledge. But that creates an interesting problem. When you've believed something since childhood, it stops feeling like a story. It starts feeling like reality. And that's where things become truly fascinating. Because even your own memories aren't quite as reliable as they seem. But here's the part that surprises most people. Even after you've learned a story, your brain doesn't simply store it, it rewrites it. Imagine you're watching two cars collide at an intersection. A week later, someone asks you, how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other? Now imagine they ask someone else the exact same question, but replace one word. How fast were the cars going when they bumped into each other? Same accident, same video, one different word. Yet, in one of the most famous psychology experiments ever conducted, people who heard the word smashed consistently remembered the crash as being more severe. Some even remembered seeing broken glass that never existed. Think about that for a second. A single word created a memory. Not because people were lying, but because memory isn't a recording, it's a reconstruction. Every time you remember something, your brain quietly rebuilds the story, filling in missing pieces, removing others. Sometimes without you ever realizing it. Suddenly, it becomes much easier to understand why two people can experience the exact same event and walk away with completely different memories. The event was the same, the story wasn't. And if one simple word can reshape a memory, what else can reshape the way we see the world? As it turns out, something we've been using every single day since childhood. Language. Let's try a small experiment. Imagine you're standing in front of a rainbow. You can clearly see 7 different colors. Now imagine meeting someone who has never learned the word orange. To them, that section of the rainbow isn't orange, it's simply a shade somewhere between red and yellow. Nothing about the rainbow has changed, only the vocabulary has. Yet, the moment you give that color a name, your brain begins treating it as something separate. Scientists have found that language does something remarkable. It doesn't just help us describe the world, it helps our brain organize it. One famous study compared English speakers with Russian speakers. In English, both sky blue and navy blue are simply called blue. But in Russian, they have completely different everyday names, almost the way English treats red and pink as different colors. Because out of that, Russian speakers can distinguish those 2 shades significantly faster than English speakers. Not because they have better eyesight, not because their eyes work differently, but because their brain has spent a lifetime treating them as different things. Think about what that means. The words you grow up with don't just change the way you speak, they change the way you notice. And if a single word can influence something as objective as color, what happens when the words are success, failure, rich, poor, us, them? And suddenly, language stops being just a way to communicate. It becomes a way to quietly shape reality itself. And nowhere is that more powerful than in the stories that allow billions of complete strangers to trust one another without ever having met. But perhaps the greatest story humanity ever told wasn't about gods, or kings, or heroes. It was a story that allowed complete strangers to trust one another. Imagine you're holding a 500 rupee note. Now ask yourself, what is it actually worth? The paper? A few rupees at most. The ink? Almost nothing. So why would someone hand you food, clothes, or even a car in exchange for it? Because they believe that someone else will accept it tomorrow. Now imagine waking up one morning and everyone suddenly decides they no longer believe that story. Your 500 rupees note hasn't changed. The paper is still there. The ink is still there. But overnight, it has become exactly what it always was. A piece of paper. The value never lived inside the note. It lived inside millions of human minds. The same is true for countries. Stand on the border between 2 nations. Can you actually see the line? Can you touch it? No. From space, there are no borders, just one planet. And yet, those invisible lines shape where we can live, work, travel, and sometimes who we call us and them. Money, countries, laws, companies, universities, marriage. None of these grow naturally from the earth. They exist because billions of people continue believing the same shared story. And that's what makes human beings different from every other species. We don't just live in the physical world. We live in a world of ideas. Ideas so powerful that they build cities, create economies, and hold entire civilizations together. But here's the real question. If stories shape the world our ancestors lived in, who is writing the stories that shape yours today?